Aloha. Welcome to Human Services 110, the summer session for 2015. Hopefully by now you have your textbook because everything we're about to discuss in your first lecture is in your textbook. Get it out and we can highlight things together as we go along because I will carefully go through your text with you and we will highlight everything that you need to make notice of and that which we think together is very important. So today let's start with Chapter 1. Chapter 1 covers pages 1 to 18, and you will notice descriptions of the many types of human service professionals in your first few pages. You're going to meet some characters. Their names are Gary, Sarah, and Cynthia, and Frank. Also on page 3, I want you to note that there's some acronyms. Do you know what an acronym is? If you don't, you better look that up real quickly. Email me and I'll let you know. The first acronym which you're going to learn today is the National Organization for Human Services, also known as NOHS, N-O-H-S. All human service organizations have one thing in common. Let's start with this idea. That one thing in common is that we are helping people who cannot meet their own physical and emotional needs because there are barriers in the way from preventing them from meeting their own physical and emotional needs. There's a list of these needs on page 4 in chapter 1 in your book. Please familiarize yourself with the list so that we'll know that we're all talking about the same thing. Okay? Excuse me. The definition of a human service professional is on page 5. That's the standard textbook definition. We'll talk in the future about what it is to you and me. There's a wide variety of jobs in the human service field. You can work at many levels with many different types of education. You can work with a certificate, which the University of Hawaii Community Colleges provides. The University of Hawaii can also provide you with a bachelor's degree in science, a bachelor's degree in art, which can also be applied to the human service field. You can get your MA, your MS, your master's in science or your master's in arts, in psychology, sociology, social work. You can also get an MSW, which is a master's in social work. You could also be a licensed certified social worker. You could choose to get your doctorate in psychology or a doctorate in psychiatry. There is a difference. All of these different fields pay according to the degree of the number of years that you spend time getting your degree. The more years you spend getting your education, the more money you're going to make. And I encourage you to go for the whole big ball of wax, as we say. Some states require different standards than other standards. I will say, having worked in the state of Hawaii for many years now, in the field of social services and human services, that Hawaii has pretty good standards. Our standards have improved tremendously from the long time ago when I started. Okay, enough about the overview of what we're going to talk about today. On page 9 in your text, please notice the duties and functions. They're well listed there of a human service professional. Because as you move through the study of the human service profession, you'll begin to learn basic theories of psychology. There are many theories of psychology that you will learn as you go through your education. We will only briefly touch on a few of them in this class because they're not really pertinent to what we're trying to do here. We're trying to give you an overview, okay? Excuse me. For example, most of you are familiar with the name Freud, Dr. Freud, the famous psychologist. He is considered the father of psychoanalytical therapy. And if truth be told, his theories are no longer particularly relevant. However, we do still refer to them a great deal, and then sometimes they are used. Let me explain in a nutshell why. Freud did all of his studies, or the most of his studies, geared towards his time period, which was the Victorian age, the late 1800s. He studied women particularly of that time and place. There's not a whole lot of value from the Victorian woman's development that is particularly pertinent to the development of the female psychology today in the year 2015 on the Big Island of Hawaii. However, there are some precepts that we still do refer to, but that's about all you'll really need to know about Freud. We won't probably be mentioning him again. There are different titles for men and women who work in the field of human services. You can call us social workers, you can call us human service professionals, or you can call us generalists. We do answer to all of the above. Let's spend a moment discussing two more important theories before we go into Chapter 2. In Chapter 1, we bring up two important theories in social services. A doctor named Bronfenbrenner. It is very difficult for me to say Bronfenbrenner. I don't know why, so please bear with me when I do refer to this theory. Bronfenbrenner invented or discovered or thought up the ecological systems theory that he divided into 4 spheres. He took the human being's environment, your environment, my environment, and divided it into 4 intersecting, overlapping spheres. Those 4 spheres are, and please highlight this in your book. Oops. Those 4 spheres are, I'm sorry, I just lost my thought. His first sphere is called microsystem. That includes the individual and the individual's family. That would be you and your family. His second sphere is mesosystem theory. That would include you or your patient clients, neighbors, school. The third system that overlaps is an ecosystem. That would be the system of government, state. The fourth is the macro system. This would be your cultural and community at large. So those are the 4 overlapping systems that Bronfenbrenner invented. Microsystem, mesosystem, ecosystem, and macrosystem. Again, they're in your book. I'm just giving you a quick overview. Now that when you read that in your book, you'll know to pay attention. So in a nutshell, Bronfenbrenner states that we must work with people, if we're the social worker, human service professional, within the context of their relationships with these 4 systems. You can think of it this way, and also look at you as the professional is looking at the person's whole picture, the person inside the whole picture. Again, check page 13, gives you a lot more detail. The other man we need to pay attention to and his theory is Abraham Maslow. There's a good chart on page 14 in your text that draws out Maslow's theories. He created a model which I recommend you know very well if you're going to really consider working in the social service field. This model is on page 14 in your text, but let me tell you about it a little bit so it will make sense to you when you read about it. Maslow states that we as professionals cannot effectively work with people who are in need until we help them meet their most basic needs. The most basic need of the human animal is, what do you think? It's a physical need. The human being must have food, water, oxygen before you can help them solve any of their other problems. Their second most serious need is safety. This need refers to security, employment, and health. The third need to be aware of is love. This is the need that refers to family relationships, friends relationships, and sexual relationships. The fourth need is esteem, meaning self-esteem, the patient's confidence and respect for others, and self-respect. The fifth need that you must address before you can work with a person in social services is self-actualization. This is the human being's morality, creative part, and problem-solving ability. Again, you need to refer to your text to Bronfenbrenner and Abraham Maslow. They're easy to understand. Very nice drawings in your text about these 2 systems. Take a look at them. Read them. Now that you realize that social work occurs in many different ways by many different people and uses many different systems, let's talk about you. In your life, in school or in a hospital, a legal setting, a child advocacy system, a divorce, all the things that you may have looked at in your life. Have you asked yourself, have you ever come in contact with a social worker type person, a human service professional? Think about that, because you probably have, or someone you know and love has. So think about this. Who was that person? What was the time and place? What were you doing? Then go to your tab at Laulima and share that experience with me and your classmates. Go to the discussions tab, click on it, and just tell us what your experience with a human service professional was like. If you didn't, I would be surprised, but if you have not had an occasion to deal with a social worker, an attorney, a fireman, a policeman, a teacher, I think if you think of the big picture, you probably have worked with a human service professional in some capacity. Maybe it was a high school counselor or a college counselor. Go to Laulima, click on the discussions tab, and write in some of your thoughts, be it positive or negative, about what it was like for you to work with this human service professional. I hope this little lecturette, is what I'm calling them, has been a help to you. Please call me. If you have any questions, email me. Go on Laulima to the discussion sections. It'll be fun. This is our first lecture. I've enjoyed it. I hope you have too. Stay in touch. I will be posting your next lecture this evening. Take care. Aloha.